Now, the ETS that they want to impose, which the government has just voted in favour in this chamber, and let me point out, at every point in this chamber, the opposition has voted against that legislation every time it has been put into this chamber. It was also totally rejected in the Senate, as it will be again. And yet they want to impose this huge tax on everything, which will impact on people, particularly senior Australians' lives, where they will see the cascading effect of that tax, which is placed on the very fundamentals of the things that we regard as essential to a civilised society. The ability to turn on the lights, the ability to have our cities lit so that we're not endangered by being knocked over or beaten up by somebody trying to pinch your handbag or whatever. And that is a very real question, particularly for older Australian women who feel that they are intimidated and unable to get around unless there is light, unless there's an ability for them to feel safe. And so this tax would be put on this very fundamental energy source and cascade down through the price of everything. The price of petrol for their cars, the price of their cars, the price of their food, the price of their rent, the price of their house, everything. And at the same time, they have ripped benefits out of the superannuation system, again putting doubts in people's minds as to whether superannuation is a good investment for people to make. Now, because in government we were solid about that, we have seen people's superannuation savings grow from around $450 billion to $1 trillion, over $1 trillion, because people did feel safe. And when we said that if you were over 60 and your superannuation stream of income came from a source which was taxed, you would not have to pay tax on that, it was welcomed enormously by people who saw this as a chance to be able to live well in their older age, to have a good life. And yet I meet people in the streets now who simply say, I'm scared stiff about my super, because they feel it's under attack, because so many things that this government promised it wouldn't touch, it is touching. Wait till we see the Henry report. Why won't they release it so we can all have a look? The same Mr. Henry, who, if you were in the Senate chamber any day this week and went through the budget forecasts, would find that the figures are so rubbery that they cannot be justified. I don't think I have ever seen, since I've been in this place, one set of budget figures out of the Treasury be accurate. Jokingly, we used to call them gestimates, not estimates. And this is the man who's been charged with the responsibility of looking at all of our taxation system? No, he wasn't allowed to look at the GST and he wasn't allowed to look at the ETS cascading tax. So we are in this situation where, far from saying to senior Australians, you are making and continue to make a fantastic contribution to this country, whether it is by remaining in the workforce, whether it is by paying tax through the GST, whether it is by paying tax on income that is not tax-free, whether it is by being volunteers and providing essential services without which our society couldn't exist. The worth and value of Australia's seniors are huge. And it is now, I think, up to this government to stop the demeaning, sneering attitude towards people who are senior Australians. And I put it to you, if you're over 50, you're in. And indeed, the new magazine launched today by Australian seniors has got none other than the Prime Minister and his wife on the front cover. And I think that indicates that they're wanting to identify with seniors. So why, on the one hand, do they want that identification, and on the other hand, sneer at the contribution of older Australians? And I can tell you, people don't like it. And if you read the front page story on the Fin Review today, you'll find the Talkback Radio, which comprises a very large audience of senior Australians, have seen through the dishonesty of the Prime Minister, his inability to tell the truth, his inability to honour his promises, and his total inability to answer a straight question with a straight answer. And again it's coming through. It is quite a revelation to read those comments from the leading talkback hosts around Australia. So, in saying that I condemn the government for not realising the worth of senior Australians, what I'm really saying is that they deserve to be condemned. Condemned for the demeaning attitude and the demonising attitude they have to senior Australians, to say that they are to be blamed for not having a government that is prepared to deal with its health system, not prepared to honour its superannuation system, and to go on a big spending binge, as it still is, with regard to the $21 billion of unspent stimulus, estimated to go on way past the next election, money which the Australian people are going to have to pay back. Instead of attacking that cohort of Australians, laud them for the contribution not only that they have made and the wisdom that they bring to bear, but to thank them for being continuing contributing members of our society. Vital. In that original research that I published back in 2001, Chapter 2 was called "We're All in It Together." And we are. We are one people, we are all of one company. And for a government to disparage and demean older Australians because they have reached a particular age, I think is downright
The member's
un-Australian.
time has expired.